2017 has been as politically charged a year as any in recent memory, and things look like they'll only be getting more intense in 2018. So we thought it would be fitting to bring in our party chairs here in New Hampshire. We have Republican Party Chairwoman Jeannie Forrester and Democratic Party Chairman Ray Buckley. Thanks for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Adam.
Jeannie, let's start with you. You've got a Republican-controlled legislature, a Republican in the corner office in the State House, who's very popular. Give us your takeaways from 2017.
I think the takeaway is that folks in New Hampshire wanted a change. They elected, as you said, a very popular governor. I think his popularity is 62%. He's one of the most popular governors in the country. 75% of the people in New Hampshire believe we are headed in the right direction with the majorities we hold in the legislature. So we're on a good path. He's doing a lot of great things for the state. He returned $38 million back to cities and towns. We delivered a fiscally sound budget. He's done a lot of good things, and I think there's more to come.
And Chairman Buckley, you've got the entire federal delegation under Democratic control, and you've notched some pretty decent special election wins in the last year. And what are your takeaways from 2017?
Well, I think that the success that we've had mirrors many years after a presidential election. There are wave years that occur that have nothing to do with a specific elected official, and it just simply happens. And you can see the wave building. You saw that through the special election where we were winning in communities that we had no right, and even coming in a close second. It was overwhelmingly Republican districts. We won 8 out of 10 special elections. We essentially wiped out every Republican in public office in Nashua, and we defeated Ted Gatsas for mayor. Now, we also won a special election for state senate for the first time since 1984. And in almost every one of those incidents, Chris Sununu and his supposed popularity was engaged, but didn't seem to have any effect. And we took that as a signal that his support may be wide, but it's very thin, and that we feel very excited as we look into 2018 about defeating the governor, winning the majorities, and holding on the first district.
And Chairwoman, does that bother you at all or worry you in any way, the trend as the chairman was describing?
No, look, I think special elections are important. They're very specific. They're very local. And they had some good candidates. We had good candidates as well. But at the end of the day, we still hold a majority in the House, the Senate, and we have the corner office. He is popular. He is doing good things. I don't know at this point. I think the only candidate that I'm aware of that the Democrats are offering up is somebody who supports an increase in the gas tax, somebody who's against cutting taxes. And I think based on what we've seen, people believe that, again, the direction we're headed with this governor is the right direction. So I feel very confident going into 2018 that we are going to hold our majorities and we will pick up seats.
So Chris Sununu will be re-elected in 2018.
Absolutely.
What's fascinating with these elections, both in Manchester and the other special elections, is the Republicans use that same story of Democrats going to raise their taxes, scare, boo, and it didn't work. So I'm very excited to hear the chair talk about those same issues, because that's not what people are looking for. People are looking for solid leadership, people that are going to turn in the direction of the country and be supportive of a more positive and progressive agenda. And I think that that's what you're finding on the Democratic candidates. And we're, as we said, we're very excited about the energy that's on the Democratic level, the turnout of Democratic voters across the state. We've won special elections in 8 different counties. This is just phenomenal that's happened here.
And well, hold on a second. The leading indicator often of a weak governor is a plethora of candidates coming out of the woodwork to challenge him. Right now there is only one Democrat. Certainly that's going to change, but isn't that a worry for you that there aren't bigger name Democrats right now lining up to take on governors?
Well, I think you need to remember that John Lynch got into the governor's race against Craig Benson in May. Gene Sheen got in the governor's race in late April. That I think that we have shown a record of success no matter when the candidate, and if Steve Marchand is the nominee, I believe he will be successful as well.
Yeah, Steve's a nice guy. I like Steve, but he'll never beat Chris Sununu. And the Democrats won't put up anyone who will beat Chris Sununu. He is popular. He is doing great things for this state, and he's not the typical what I think Democrats like to cast Republicans as. He reaches out across the aisle. He works with folks. He's getting things done. And with the majorities in our House and the Senate, which we will again keep, I expect that 2018 will be a great year for New Hampshire.
A few weeks ago on this program, Governor Sununu would not really commit to appearing at a theoretical campaign rally with Donald Trump. Is that a problem at all for you or other Republicans, that his embrace of the president is somewhat tepid, not as perhaps enthusiastic as a lot of Republicans would like?
No, it really doesn't. For me, you know, Chris Sununu is his own man. He is a New Hampshire Republican, and that's our focus, is that we are New Hampshire Republicans. We are getting things done amid all the chaos that's going on in Washington, or whatever the strife is, and not being able to come together and get things done, although we did get tax reform passed this last week, and that was great. No, Chris does things to his own tune. There are things that he's going to agree with the president on, things that he won't agree, and that's okay. That's fine.
Your comms team, Chairman Buckley, has been very busy linking Governor Sununu and President Trump, but it's pretty clear he's not on the spectrum of Trump enthusiasm. He's not all the way out there as a true believer.
Not yet. You know, I think that you're going to see as we get into the election year, we were very focused on these special elections. We were very focused on the municipal elections, and now we're entirely focused on Christopher Sununu. So I think that right from the get-go next week, you're going to see a big bang arrive. And, you know, not to brag or anything, but New Hampshire Democrats, if we were an NFL team, would actually be beating the Patriots, because the Patriots are 12-2, and we're 13-2 for statewide races. So we feel pretty good about going into 2018.
Well, speaking of interesting comparisons, we had Mike Huckabee recently compare the president favorably with Winston Churchill. I know Republicans kind of went crazy over the alleged cult of personality around President Obama, but we kind of see some of that same thing going on right now with President Trump. Is that problematic at all in a free society like ours to see such adulation being whipped up among the most ardent supporters?
I don't think so. I especially think, again, going back to Governor Sununu, his popularity and how even I think 50% of the Democrats, a recent poll showed that they support against any other Democrat that they're going to put up against him, that they support this governor. He is that popular. And this isn't a game for us. This is real life. And this governor gets it. He's young, he's fresh, he listens, as I said, to both sides, and he's working for the people of New Hampshire. He's not working for anyone other than the people of New Hampshire.
President Trump is a very skilled political fighter. Is it a mistake for Democrats to sort of take that fight to President Trump and make that
I don't think it's fair to call him a skilled political fighter. I think you could consider him a skilled performer. And I think that he performs to the camera, and he performs to the press and to his audience. But a skilled political performer would not be at 26% here in New Hampshire. The reality with Chris Sununu is that every single one of his appointments has been part of the Republican Party hierarchy. They've either worked for the Republican State Party or have been an officer of the Republican State Party. We have not seen a governor that's been so partisan in his governing. We haven't seen a governor that doesn't take the opioid crisis seriously. When the Democratic state senators came forward and wanted to just spend 10% of the rainy day fund, 10% towards the opioid crisis, because this budget that Jeannie claims is so terrific underfunded the crisis, and the Republicans immediately dismissed it because it was a Democratic idea. I think that's unfortunate. I think that as we look forward, we had a $100 million tax cut to businesses that didn't even ask for it here in the state of New Hampshire, and frankly, we haven't seen any result of that.
Oh, revenues are up beyond projection. Unfortunately, or maybe not, unfortunately, I'll have to disagree with the party chair on the Democratic side. We have funded more on the opioid crisis. And when I was a state senator, I was the first Republican, actually the first senator, to stand up and say we need to fund more of the opioid crisis. We need to take care of this problem we have in the state. I sat on the Governor's Commission. I know what the problem started more than 6, 7, 8 years ago. And I'm very proud of the fact that we fought to put together a system that would actually fund it and not just put it as part of the budget and suspend it, because for years and years, under Democratic control, that fund had been suspended, and then it was just funded out of the out of the general budget. So we're getting back to a place where we're putting the funds in that are needed, and we are making sure that the funds are being spent appropriately, that they are producing results, because we want to make sure that people are getting the care they need and that we're actually making a difference. And we are, because we know that the deaths are down.
We do want to get to a couple other questions here. The chairman had noted that the president is at 26% approval ratings in some of those polls. What are you going to do if John Kasich or someone like him starts coming around here making an open challenge to the president as a Republican?
Well, I'm going to support the president. And look, polls, polls, I guess, are only as good as whoever's doing the polling, and I wouldn't necessarily believe those. Look, the polls had President Trump losing, and he won. All right. So the popularity, I call that into question. Yes, he's controversial. Yes, he says some things that maybe really get people going. But at the end of the day, he is our president. He is the Republican president, and I will support him.
I just love that soundbite that Jeannie just gave us about polls. Thank you.
You're welcome.
In that same vein, Mr. Chairman, we see, factionalism within parties. Are you worried at all about someone like a Bernie Sanders coming in here and saying, hey, progressives, follow me, let's leave the Democratic Party and start something new?
No. We worked very closely with the Sanders campaign throughout the primary of 16, and I've stayed in contact with him throughout this time. And, we worked together very closely in the DNC chair's race. He is a very strong supporter of the New Hampshire Democratic Party. He's been coming here for years, campaigning for our Democratic candidates, and most recently came to support the Stratford County Democrats just a couple of weeks ago.
And do you think, with this sort of atomization or the splintering we see in our politics a little bit, 10 years from now, will we have, maybe you guys here, but two other party chairs? Could we have, is the two-party system on its way out?
We're still here.
Well, then it means you'll have both done a good job, and you can come back and continue to be on close up. Well, it's not that bad, right? Well, Happy New Year to both of you.
Thank you.
And we appreciate your time, and good luck to both, and we'll be covering all of it.
Adam, thanks for having us on.
Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.